Our honorable chief guest for the day, Suresh Prabhu ji, has arrived. We extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. I request Dr. Irfan A. Rizvi, Professor at IMI New Delhi and VP at FWA, and also our honorable chief guest, Suresh Prabhu ji, to please join us on the stage. I invite Mr. Shiv Shankar Sharma, Secretary FWA, and Mr. Manoj Kachori, co-founder of Social Story, to please join us on the stage. And for the felicitation of our chief guest.
Good morning, friends. Thank you, Rizvi Saab, for giving a very conceptual clarity about what are we all here for. And I really appreciate all your great efforts, and I'm sure with such sincerity you're putting them in, so bound to succeed, and the outcome is inevitable. So I really congratulate you and wish you the best for that. Tripathi Saab has been my colleague in the government, and a very competent, able officer who has done great job. And I now just realized that he's now trying to do something even better in the Indian Institute of Public Administration, because I think we really all, particularly me, I need training into public administration more so that we can deliver better. So thank you for doing that job. And of course, Smruti Kaurji, who is heading a very important educational institution, which is probably one of the most prestigious ones. And I think very happy that we are all here, and I can see many distinguished friends who are present in this program. So good evening, good morning to all of you. This is a very rare event, particularly for me, because a little more than a year ago, I used to have 7-8 programs like this minimum every day, maybe sometimes even 10, 12. But now, in the last few months, particularly year, probably this is one of the few programs in person I'm attending. So it's like coming back to your old life. So I'm very happy about it. At the same time, sorry, my dear friend, photographer, that he was telling me to take it out. I said, then what is the purpose of wearing it? So I'm wearing it, so please don't mind. In any case, there's nothing that my face can reveal that others can, so I'm fine with that. It's a very important program. And I'm not saying as a cliche that every program is important, obviously, but this is critically very important because there is so much of mismatch into one, our employment market, job market. On the other side, academics. On the third side, as a result of this, there is so much of discontentment among the youth of the country. Every youth obviously seeks a career opportunity. And as we all know that every person is different than the other. Very different than others. So sometimes when you take poll, you try to categorize various sections of society into some part. And they say this is a sample. So I will make a sample survey and come to the conclusion. It may be right in some areas, because maybe your interest can be generalized, your priorities can be generalized, but still behind all that there is an individual. And that individual is so different from one another that every individual seeks a different kind of career opportunity. Somebody is very happy doing nothing. There's nothing wrong. I mean, sometimes you must wonder, he seems to be a crazy person, he's not doing nothing. I would rather feel he has realized the ultimate, because he realizes doing nothing is the right thing to do. Because sometimes we are in the rat race, we are trying to follow somebody else because he is doing it, that's why I must do it. Not that I have any interest in doing it, but because Tripathi Sahib is doing it and people are acknowledging Tripathi Sahib, giving accolades, so I must also do the same thing. By doing this, sometimes you miss out on what you really want to do. But that's a different matter. So, every individual has a different priority, different interest. Unfortunately, over a long period of time, we have not acknowledged that fact. Like Tripathi Sahib, sorry for me saying this, but in the IS, the batches get promotion. Individuals don't get promotion, batches. Now 1968 batch will be promoted to additional secretary. 1974 batch is promoted to secretary, something like this. In that, a person as good as Mr. Tripathi will be equated with somebody else, only because he was his batchmate. That is the only qualification he has. But by not acknowledging the identity of an individual, you miss out on so many things. First, that person misses out, but society also loses. Because just imagine each person would have blossomed into his own potential, what a society it would be. It would be a contented society. Because you are doing something which you want to do, and not because you are doing something which your parents wanted you to do, or your neighbor wanted you to do, and you are doing it because your friend is doing it, but you are doing something which you want to do. And therefore I was saying, because of many reasons, let's not get into that today, maybe on some other time, and I've just noticed, my colleague and friend Sahil Agarwal is here, and I just noticed that Rishud University is a knowledge partner. I am the Chancellor of the Rishud University, so I'm sure we'll get some time, some other time, to discuss about the basics of education, and we'll discuss that some other time. In fact, we are planning a Chancellor Summit very soon of all the university chancellors so that we can debate such fundamental issues into education, maybe some other time. But today, with a limited purpose, why I was mentioning this, because we don't identify, or rather, we don't acknowledge the reality of individuals being different, and therefore they may have different priorities, different set of ideas, we offer a standard education to everybody. And by doing that, we create numbers, huge numbers. So if you talk about numbers, we will be very proud of what numbers we have created. So this is one side. And the other side, the mismatched side, is the industry. If you go to industry, they'll keep complaining that we don't get right people for our job. So just imagine a country where there are 1.36 billion people, and more than 65% of them are young, and many of them are seeking jobs, and other side, the industry is saying we don't get people. So this is the biggest sad commentary on the education system, which luckily is now being corrected through a new education policy. And therefore, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the present Education Minister, Mr. Pokhriyal, all of them need to be commended for doing something like this. Now, industry is more and more, particularly the manufacturing, because industry is a wide subject. It can involve services, it can involve manufacturing, it can involve mining, construction, many things. That is how the industry, at least for the purpose of calculating GDP, is classified. But the manufacturing sector is going to be more and more technology driven. As we say, the fourth industrial revolution, which will be largely if not solely, will be technology oriented and technology driven. So the number of people required in shop floor will be less, obviously. But that doesn't mean that people will not be required. But also, if you look at it the other way around, that manufacturing may need less people because of technology. But the question is, who develops technology? Somebody has to develop technology, which will be deployed into shop floor, which will displace some people in the shop floor. But technology itself will need people to develop technology, to deploy technology, to constantly upgrade technology will need people. So people are going to be needed for industry, in service sector, in all segments of our economy. But their profile is going to change dramatically. It has already changed. If you look at it, the number of people who are employed into traditional sectors of economy worldwide, they are now not being considered as employees anywhere. But that doesn't mean that employment has gone down. It definitely must have gone down, but the different opportunities have been created. I keep giving this example. There was a time when I won 4 Lok Sabha elections from Konkan, Maharashtra. So that area was called money order economy, because people will migrate to Mumbai and send money back. So where were they employed? The people who are going back and sending money, they will be employed in post office. So now postmen are not there in that many numbers. But courier has happened. So there may be more opportunities in courier delivery than post could offer. There are many people, again from my own constituency I am giving the example, in police. So now the number of opportunities police has gone down, but security guards have increased. I remember when I'm a very old man, so therefore I can say when I was young, at least for a fraction of a second I get that good feeling I was young sometimes, at least I was. So those days there was only one TV channel, Doordarshan. So we can only have a Doordarshan, Dur Se Darshan. But now those opportunities have gone down, but how many new TV channels have come? I don't know, in India probably will have 500-600 TV channels. And by the time I am talking about it, maybe 5 more could have been born. So this is the new opportunity which is getting created. So jobs profile has changed, but education system could not keep pace with that. So changes are happening in the economy, changes happening in the job market were so rapid that education system lagged behind considerably. And therefore, this huge mismatch that people want jobs and industry is waiting for people. So this is a huge dichotomy. And to correct that, for example, if you have a school only to train security guards, a school to train drivers, a school to train cooks, Smriti ji will tell you, her grandmother, who will also frown to say, a cook is going to come home and cook. What you are talking nonsense? Why am I there? So her grandmother, my grandmother would cook themselves. But today, if you tell my daughter, I don't have a daughter, but daughter-in-law, that you have to cook yourself, she say, what are you talking about? So this is change. But what is the harm in making trained cooks available? Why not we make cooks? So just imagine that skill is something which is now the driving force for employment. And a skill-based training, skill-based education was missing. And that is another very important element of the new education policy. I'll give an example. I am just telling you something which is from my personal experience. Again, going back to my constituency. I think my friend, she is from Maharashtra. So she knows Konkan probably. Or you are from Maharashtra originally or no? No, from here, okay. Konkan is on the west coast of India and Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, 2 districts. We started a skill development program 25 years ago. Then we got Jana Shikshan Sansthan, one for Sindhudurg, now another one we are getting it for Ratnagiri. We are trained about 100,000, mainly women, but not only women, for self-employment on different kinds, not great skills, but a skill which are required and can be used on a day-to-day basis. And there we are seeing a real change in the lives of the people. There are not many women, but there are not few either in this room. I will tell you something which absolute real story. In Konkan, just all villages, 2,000 villages we work in. And so women will normally, anybody will spit on the floor, cow dung, clean floor. And I was speaking, so when I was speaking this, that we must train more women for employment, for training, so they can start earning money. And I said, when they start earning money, no husband's hand can be raised against them to beat them, because now if I have money. You'll not believe it. There was one young girl was crying. Nobody could see her because she was facing me and all others were sitting behind her. So after my speech was over, I took her aside. I said, did I say something wrong? Why are you crying? She started crying more. I said, what happened? She said, I am a graduate. I was working in Mumbai. After marriage, came to Konkan. And obviously I had to leave my job. So I am experiencing the same thing from my husband. So you'll not imagine, the benefit of women earning is not just confined to income alone. It changes their entire approach toward life, confidence level goes up, they can do wonders. So I have experienced it myself. We have training and we are still doing this program in an aggressive basis. It's an NGO. So I feel this program, that's why I was saying in the beginning, it's so important, that if you can bring industry and academics together. And I'll give another concrete example. I'm just giving examples which are real life examples. We are now partnered with CIA, Confederation of Indian Industry. There are more than 10 top multinational companies, including JCB, Schneider, Skoda. All of them have come to Konkan. They are putting their own money, starting their laboratories and training people. Just imagine, in a rural area, the top industry players are going there. Of course, this is part of their CSR. But not just that. They will also get people, and I will tell you something. This is our fallacy, that we think the rural area don't know anything. In any case, the fundamental truth is, where the rural people, where is the urban people, where they come from? Whether they came from skies or somewhere, they also migrated from rural areas. So those who pride upon themselves that I am from urban area, so I am intelligent, clever, far more privileged. Privilege, yes. But barring that, they should not take any more credit for anything more. And the rural population has still, because of proximity to nature, they are still better human beings. And therefore, obviously, the IQ level is better. Because those who are closer to nature, their inner abilities will come to fore better, more. And there is a possibility. So I am talking about industry academy. It's a very important thing. And when you talk about industry, it's very clearly understandable. But when you say academia, it should not necessarily mean only high-end educational institutions. Because the education, and that's why I was saying one day, Rizvi Sahab, we'll have a detailed deliberation on education. But there are people who want to be scholars. He wants to spend all his time learning some medieval history, fine. But somebody wants to learn about music, very good. But there are, these are specialized missions people would like to accomplish. And there are high-ended education which you offer in management, in engineering, in medicine, that's fine. Then we have Sriram College of Commerce giving undergrad courses, fine. But we don't even need those educational institutions for tying up with academia. Rather, coming into the broad perspective of academia, for tying up with industry. We can do mid-level, low-level integration, and that would be far more relevant. And therefore I was giving examples of this. And therefore I think now it's an opportunity to move into that direction significantly. And luckily that's why I was saying the education policy also offers that opening. So let's work together and make this as a reality. And that's why I was telling you, I am not going to give you any academic ideas. I am telling you something which we are already doing in my own life. I have done it. And I would invite you to come there one day. I think my dear friend Sahil will organize a program which will do it in Konkan. And the CI is our partner nationally, the Confederation of Indian Industry, because they saw this work and they said it's fantastic. And therefore we keep working with them very closely. That's an umbrella organization for the entire industry anyway. So if you want, next time you organize something like this, we'll bring CI also into this. We'll also try to work closely with industry. We can have a presentation to CI membership so that they will also understand. So one way of doing this is to bridge policy gap, which I think, luckily, the new education policy addresses quite significantly. In fact, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who was the chairman, is my dear friend. And in fact, we have been friends for a very long time. We'll also involve him when we plan this conclave for chancellors. But I think policy gap to some extent done. The other one is implementation part, which we'll try to do through this conclave of chancellors that we like to address. And while we do this on both ends, there is so much between policy and implementation. Even one event like bringing all chancellors together is not going to accomplish it. So we'll have to work constantly on this. So we'll work very closely on each of these issues as we go along. But I really appreciate this opportunity for being there, and I really thank my two friends for giving me chance to speak before them. Of course, they were very charitable, but at times very sensible, because they knew that if they speak before me, I will have nothing else to speak. So they were really sensible giving this opportunity to me. So thank you very much. I really look forward to working on these issues with all of you. Thrissur University, which is a young university. So in a sense, it represents India because India is also young. And therefore, we like to work with all of you. And the university cannot be confining its activities only to the campus areas. So if you don't reach out, then you are failing in your objectives. And therefore, I think as university campus is only located in Haryana, but I think we'll have to work closely with each one of you, all of you, together. Thank you very much.